beach I'm gonna die on, but, you know, I am curious to see what the answer is.
Right.
Yeah.
I just need one clarification on it.
And one thing I want to bring up is, on the expansion of the courthouse, there's scheduling for the whole project. And we have to get the law library and probation out of the basement of the existing courthouse. And we've tried many ways. Linda's worked very hard to get it, but I feel that our back's against the wall, because if we don't get these two things out of the basement, then it messes up the schedule for the addition on the courthouse. So I'd like to have Linda look into putting these two departments into a building that we already own. It's on the square, and it's the Opera House. And see what the IT would cost us to put it in there. At least it's our own building instead of, you know, I mean, it is what it is. Linda's tried very hard with lease and this with that building or this building, and I think our back's up against the wall to keep the scheduling, because if we don't meet the scheduling, it's going to run into over, you know, extra cost.
So I guess let me ask you a question. Why is it that we're running into a why is it that we're running into a backup with the scheduling? Because we've had a purchase order or a purchase agreement since November, beginning of November, and we still don't have that in hand to move forward. And I guess I need to be clear, like what is holding this up?
To review a lease, right?
Right.
All I know is it's holding up.
But I guess what is it, do you know something that I don't know?
No.
Or is there an issue that we're not getting this back?
I don't know. You know,
I guess the phone call that needs to be made is or a letter we can call today is to call the judges and let them bring them up to speed.
Right.
As to why this thing is not moving along.
Right.
I mean, because we're ready, locked and loaded, ready to go, aren't we?
We are, and you know, no different than
We're just waiting for
the additional
the
equipment
prosecutor's
last week.
office to sign off, right? Is that, am I wrong or right?
To my understanding, yes, that's correct. The prosecutor sign off.
And Linda, maybe if you could, so as far as the lease, give us an update on the lease.
We started working on the lease at the beginning of December. It took us quite a while to get to a draft to send to the sellers, and that happened last week. And when they received it, they were very taken aback by the number of changes that were being proposed.
They were ready to walk, weren't they?
They said, go lease somewhere else.
Yeah, this is after our office, the prosecutor's office had written up and
Yes,
corrected
they
their...
redlined about 60% of the lease.
Yeah.
Very heavily. And so at that time, Jerry and I talked, and we decided to go to your outside counsel, Myers Roman, and they have a very experienced real estate attorney who then took a look at the lease and looked at the changes that the prosecutor's office had suggested, and then came up with an alternate version of it that still protects the interests of the county, but was a little bit less onerous to the sellers. And the current status of that is that we are ironing out the final details on it. The hope would be that we would have something ready to put before you by your next meeting on the 30th, depending on if we can get it certified by the auditor's office. If the prosecutor is not the one who signed off on it, the outside attorney signs off on it. It's very challenging.
Yeah.
But we're negotiating that, hopefully getting to a conclusion on the lease, not the purchase agreement.
You know, and I guess my concern is this, is that, you know, we're putting an enormous amount of time and effort into a lease of something that we're going to own if we get a purchase order or a purchase agreement done, that this is just a formality, not a, you know, it's at the end of the day, we're going to be the key holders to this building, that we're going to have this lease. You know, or we're going to basically be the one that executes those leases. So this is just a temporary fix that we're making a huge deal about, and at the end of the day, we're, and that's why I voted no last week, is that I'm not going to put, $70-some thousand worth of equipment into a building that, we can't even get confirmation of a purchase agreement in place that's been sitting since November. And, you know, so it's a situation where we've got to get some answers. And I know that, you know, Jim, you were going to reach out to the prosecutor's office. What happened with that?
I did, and then, well, this Friday, he was in court all day, didn't get back with me. I was busy yesterday, so, just to enlighten everybody on that. But, yeah, things are not going the way we planned. I totally agree with you, Ralph, but my concern, being from the construction industry for 50 years, it's like we're kind of put into a corner, we have a time frame, and I want to do the best we can to honor our scheduling with, and work together with our owner's rep and the contractor, is to try to get these two departments out of the basement the first week of February, like between the 6th and whatever, you know, and that's what's on my mind. I just want to express my feelings today. So.
No, and I think that the position of that move was looked at when we made the decision to go to purchase the Chase building.
I agree.
You know, and it wasn't a good move then, but all of a sudden it's supposed to be a good move now. That's my only concern, and you know, and in addition to that, we're going to have to put a level of IT work in there, a level of cost of a building that the ultimate plan is to basically purchase the Chase building, get everybody moved out of that building and sell that building. And that's, I guess, my struggle with this is that, you know, we are putting good money to waste for a temporary fix that we're basically just waiting for approvals.
I mean,
That
I don't
becomes
know,
a
is this,
priority.
like, I'm gonna put it out there, is this intentionally being dragged along? Is there some objection to us buying the Chase building, or
I can't
we're
answer
going into
that.
this? I don't know,
You'd
like,
have to ask the prosecutor.
yeah, I mean, I'm starting to think, like, because it's real, this is not, people buy and sell buildings every day. It doesn't take this kind of an effort, you know?
Especially in this
Especially when we-
situation, we're paying cash for this building.
Yeah, and also talking with outside counsel, that's another thing that's spurring my sale, that's maybe, you know, the amount of money we've had to go out and spend with outside counsel to get answers when they, I mean, granted, they do turn around and give you an answer within probably 24 or 48 hours. So I guess you get what you're paying for, but I feel that there's, this is either just a lack of want or this is intentional. So I really don't know, other than, you know, without the prosecutor sitting here today, if there's something that is glaringly wrong with either the lease or the purchase agreement. If you could express that to us, that'd be great. And Jim, if you could find that out, I don't know, you know, because then we can correct that or change directions. You know, maybe we have to change directions. Maybe there's something wrong, I don't know. But with no communication from our legal counsel, who statutorily his duty is to represent the commissioners, and we're not getting any action or response or clarification from that, then I guess either our hands are tied or we have to pivot and go get out and spend more money on outside counsel.
And I think that the best, my feeling, my position on this would be is, as far as all the stakeholders in this, that we've had, you know, the common police judges, the sheriff, clerk of courts, everybody that's been involved in this committee, and including all of the, you know, construction, you know, officials on this. I think that we need to put together a letter to them to let them understand and just make them aware of what our situation is, and that there is a good chance that this is going to be backed up because we do not have an agreement. You know, we don't have a purchase agreement, we don't have the lease agreement completed, and I just think that I wouldn't support Jim, and nothing personal, but I think that the long-term effect is this, is that we need to do things right, and that's my position on this. And I just think that we're putting a Band-Aid on something that doesn't really have an answer, and we have a solution, but we're not going towards that direction, because we could have probably been in a position right now to have had that Chase building purchased and have work being done right now. So unless, unless Tim, you feel different,
Well,
I
don't know, you're saying move them into the Opera House temporarily.
Only because we own the building and it's on the square.
Understood.
And then we put Myers and Roman on the job to finish up the lease, right, Linda? To get us to the finish line?
Hopefully, yes.
Okay, and then I'll share this with everybody that I think you got a letter from the owners of the Chase building and said with this lease situation that we want to get in there, it's taken them longer to fix a wall or something. So, and then there was a date on the letter that their estimated time frame. So we have another obstacle about getting the law library and probation out of the basement. So did you want to share that with us, Linda?
Well, I got an email this morning saying that when they opened up the front wall under the window, the damage was worse than they thought, and they wanted to suggest that they be moved back to March 1st.
Where, I'm sorry, what wall?
Okay, the space that we are going to be leasing for
Oh,
those two
okay.
apartments, there's a room that's under the front windows that face out on the square and had some water damage that they had agreed to fix before we moved in, and when they went to go in there to repair it, they found it was more extensive than they thought. Our attorney's response was that was a non-starter, that February 1st is our date.
Okay.
So that is still up in the air as to the timing of things. I have not yet communicated with those two departments to see, I think there is a space they could share depending on if it makes sense for a law library and a probation department to share space temporarily. I certainly don't have the authority to say, oh sure, allow them. I need to ask. And that's where that sits right now. Our position is February 1st is when we want the lease to be.
So that's still possible then?
So the other thing that we could look at is, why don't we look at the possibility maybe of calling for a meeting with everyone, and being able to sit down and discuss some of these options and see exactly where we sit. And if the project gets pushed back, it gets pushed back, but I don't know what else to say at this point. Because at the end of the day, we need to look at this as got to be responsible with tax dollars on what we're going to do with this.
Yeah, and it's my understanding, some of this equipment, I guess, for lack of better, IT equipment, some of it is transferable or transportable. They could put it in, take it out, take it with them if they need to. But the fact remains, you still got to spend X amount to purchase it, install it.
Right.
The time, effort. I hate to be putting more back into the Opera House when we're, everybody's been diligently trying to get out of the Opera House and to get that up on the market. And, I know there's interested parties in possibly purchasing that from the county, so that's great, which we've been saying that for 10 years. But I think the goal is to try and get this lease agreement settled ASAP, so we can keep moving forward and get the law library over to where it was intentionally going. So I have no problem reaching out to both the judges or all the judges and just bringing them up to date, or I agree, maybe it's better to put it documented, put it in a letter. Here's where we are as today.
And maybe put a timeline of what, just so that, we've tried.
And I don't know if there's a knockdown dead date. You're saying February 1st? That's the...
There's a little wiggle room on that.
Okay.
But our intention was that the lease would begin February 1st.
So when does the law library have to be out of there so they can start the construction? I mean, I'm sure
They
they
told
probably...
us February 1st, but then they've come back with, well, if it was the 6th, that would be okay. There's a little wiggle space on it.
I mean, and our outside counsels reviewed this, and they're locked and loaded. They said they're ready to go.
Pretty close.
But it's just the prosecutor's office, for whatever reason, is not responding, nor you're saying that if it doesn't have a signature of the prosecutor's office, the auditor's office won't.
I'm not sure about that. I have heard that might be the case. I don't know that that's true.
So, again, to me, this feels intentional and like some kind of a, like tennis match we're watching here or something, So I'm just gonna, that's my opinion. I could be wrong, but.
Yeah, my first choice would be get the lease done, get the two departments over there, and then there's no holdup on the scheduling for the project. That's my first choice.
Yeah, yeah,
I just want to think and talk out loud about what's our other options.
right.
So,
I do think we will be hard pressed to have IT in place by that time frame if something isn't done.
Quickly. Yeah.
Okay,
But I agree with, with Ralph, as far as pouring money into something we don't own, even though some of it's transferable, we can take with us, I'm hesitant to do that without even a lease in place,
right.
I understand.
So, I don't know, if we can make some moves today, make some phone calls and try and get this thing moving, I don't know. If not, we're gonna have to pivot and do something else.
okay, just wanted to
Yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah, no,
Discuss it.
I appreciate it, I appreciate it.
May I ask a
Just one of
question?
other things.
Right.
May I ask a question about this?
Any questions?
Yes. Are you at liberty to?
Well, your name and where you're from?
Yeah, Nancy MacArthur, Chardon, Ohio.
Okay.
Are you at liberty to disclose who the owners of the property are?
Public
Is that
public
correct?
record.
Mr. Jalapis and Mr. Kassouf?
record. Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Both of them? Am I understanding correctly that you're looking to lease some of the buildings there, but then you're still looking to purchase the property as well?
Correct.
Is that accurate?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nobody else? All right, motion to adjourn?